Hey Munchkins, happy Wednesday or Thursday. So I just wanted to go over what the expectations are for today, and then as well as give you guys your OIA notes on the ARM for today. So I'm gonna move this so you guys can see the homework. So you guys need to make sure that you answer your attendance question by 2:45. Then complete page 74 and 75 in your anatomy notebook. I will provide you guys with the notes so that you guys can fill those out as we go. Then you guys will be responsible for watching the arm dissection and video questions, and then work on page 76, and then working on 17.0. So I know that sounds like a lot for the day, but this is the last new stuff for the week. So your work on Friday will be to finish working on 17.1. So any of your pages, 71 through 76 that you don't have finished, and those are due Sunday by midnight. And then also your choice activity for how you want to study your back, shoulder, and arm OIAs, which is due day 1 next week. So I know it sounds like a lot, but I promise I've built in enough time for you guys to finish it between today in class as well as Friday and through the weekend if you need that extra time. So hopefully, and then let me know if you guys are running into any issues or things like that. So I am working on updating grades. If you turn something in, just please remember to fill out the late work form. I update those at least once a week and go through that. It's usually towards the end of the week, but just let me know if you guys have any questions about your grades or what to do to improve your grade. Which also leads me into Friday. I have office hours. Remember, they will be in person. I will be in West 126 from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can come do cat dissections, get help, work on stuff, whatever it is. I'm there to help you guys at the end of the semester. So please sign up on the Google form that is linked in today's agenda in our day 2 folder. It's like one of the last things. There's a link in the agenda that'll take you to the Google form, just so I have an idea of how many students are coming. And then it's also part of COVID protocols to help keep track of who's in and out of the building on Friday as well. And let me know if you guys have any questions for Friday office hours. And remember, if you don't feel comfortable coming into the building, we can still do a Google Meet during that time, and I can help answer questions for you guys. Sorry, my back's hurting today. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to go over the answers to page 73 in your notebook, because some of the muscles we did not go over in class and you guys don't need to know. So I wanted to make sure that you knew what the right answers were and which ones I expect you to know. So the first one is number 1. It says the muscle that allows you to shrug your shoulders and extend your neck. That would be G, our trapezius, and you guys can see I colored it there. So there's that big diamond-shaped muscle that makes up the upper portion of your back, which I do expect you to know. Number 2 says the muscle that adducts the shoulder and causes extension at the shoulder joint. So remember, adducts is adding back to the midline. So it's this motion. And the one that does that is the latissimus dorsi, which is our swimmer muscle. So that's the colored one here, which, yes, I expect you to know that one too. 3 asked the shoulder muscle that is the antagonist to the muscle just described. So what that means is it's saying it does the opposite. So this one was the adduction. So 3 is asking you for the abductor, which is your deltoid. So that's A, and you can see I colored it there in pink. Number 4 says the prime mover of back extension, a deep composite muscle consisting of 3 columns. So this is the erector spinae, which is B. You don't need to know that one, but just so that it's there. Number 5, the large paired superficial muscle of the lower back. This is again the latissimus dorsi. So you use E twice on this one because it's the large paired superficial muscle of the lower back. That is how we describe its location. And then the last one, 6, the fleshy muscle forming part of the posterior abdominal wall that help maintains upright posture. So that is F, quadratus lamborum, which is the purple one here. And I colored it to show you guys where it was, but you do not need to know that one, even though it was a part of the coloring. So from this list, you guys need to make sure that you know deltoid, latissimus dorsi, and the trapezius muscle. So if you guys need to fix anything on yours, please make sure you pause the video, fill it out on your page 73, and then come back to the video. And don't forget to upload a picture of your completed page into 17.1. So pause the video as you guys need to edit your answers and upload page 73 into your 17.1 assignment for this week. Because when you come back, we are going to do the notes for the ARM OIAs. So you guys are going to be using pages 74 and 75. So if you need your notebook or anything, go grab it, pause the video, and come back. So as we complete the ARM OIA notes, please remember the nice thing about doing flip notes like this is that you can pause when you need to. So if I'm ever talking too fast, just pause it, take a second to write down what you need to write down, and then keep playing it. So the first one is tricep brachii that we're going to talk about for the arm, and it's in the upper arm. There are 2 spaces in your notes for the tricep brachii, the lateral and long head, but you only need to know the general OIA, so you only need to use 1 space. I'm going to have to just keep moving my video camera around. Okay, so triceps brachii. So this is on the posterior side of your arm. So this portion of your arm right here is mostly made up of the tricep brachii. It originates from the glenoid fossa, which remember is the bone marking on the lateral side of your scapula. So that was the little depression there where the humerus sits. And it also originates from the lateral and medial shaft of the humerus. And that's because, so the reason it's called the triceps brachii is because there's actually 3 heads to the tricep. That's why it's called tri. And so you have a lateral, medial, and posterior or long head. And so, but like I said, you only need to know the general origin, not the fact that there's 3. But just to let you guys know why it's called a tricep is because there's 3 different sections of the muscle. And you guys can see that here. So remember, this is our posterior side. So the lateral part is on the lateral side of your body. Then the long head, and then the medial head is more on your medial side. They insert on the occluron process of the ulna. So remember, that's one of those bone markings that we talked about. And the main action of the triceps brachii is to extend the forearm. So if you ever do workouts and you have to do tricep extensions, or sometimes they're called skull crushers, that is because as you lift the weight like this from a bent position, you are engaging the triceps brachii to create that action. So that's what it means by the to extend the forearm. So here's that nice picture for you guys. So they're showing you the tricep, and as it contracts, how it's going to extend the arm back. So as we look at it in the cats, this is the lateral head of the triceps brachii, because remember, it's on the lateral side of the body. And then there's the long head. The medial one is more on the medial side, and we haven't had students identify that one in the past because it's underneath and might be difficult to see. But if you come see it in person, I will show you the medial head of the triceps brachii. So it's interesting with the muscles of the upper arm. Most of them are these thick cylindrical shapes and are very sturdy, heavy muscles that you guys will see compared to some of the thin muscles that we were looking at in the shoulders, back, and abdomen from our previous ones. So the next one are the biceps brachii. It is called the biceps brachii because it is made up of 2 heads, but remember, you don't need to know them individually, just overall. And so the biceps brachii originates from the coracoid process and the glenoid fossa. So you guys can see how it's inserting up here. originating from. And then it inserts on the radius. So remember when we were learning the bones, so the radius is on your thumb side because it's radical, like thumbs up, and then the ulna is on this lower side, just to reorient you guys to those bones. And so our biceps brachii is inserting on this proximal end of the radius. And when it flexes, or when it contracts, it's going to cause flexion of the arm. And it can also assist in some rotation of the hand laterally. So it's going to supinate the forearm. So this is what this looks like. So they're showing that flexion. So, like when we flex a muscle, this muscle right here is your bicep. Big, strong muscle in your arm. So there's that action of the flexion. And then the second half here is showing you that rotation that we talked about, where it supinates the forearm. And there's the bicep brachii. So it lies under some connective tissue and some other insertions of the muscles that we previously talked about. But it also looks similar to the triceps in that they're long tube-like muscles in that upper arm. So you can skip the epiclaris. I probably said that wrong. We do not see this muscle very developed in humans. It's more developed in other mammals. So we're just going to skip it for now. It's around the elbow, just to give you guys some orientation to that. The last two muscles of the upper arm that we're going to go over, the first one is the brachialis. So it runs here on the medial side of the upper arm. It originates from the shaft of the humerus, so in here, and then inserts on the coracoid process of the ulna. And then it also flexes the forearm. So that's the thing with like the biceps brachii and the brachialis, is they're originating from somewhere on the humerus and then inserting somewhere on our lower arm. So it makes sense that since this muscle, let's see if I can, since the muscle is going from here to here, that when it shortens, it causes flexion of the forearm, right? Because when muscle contraction is what causes the action, and so the muscle is going to shorten. And so it makes sense that if it's originating from somewhere in here in our humerus and inserting somewhere in our forearm, that it's when it shortens, we're going to produce flexion of the forearm. So remember, really think about where the origin insertion are to help you think about what the action is going to be. The more you move your body and use it as a study tool, the easier that this stuff is going to be. So there's the brachialis. There, showing the flexion of the forearm. And the brachialis is right here. So this is showing you one of the triceps. So this is showing you the lateral head of the tricep. And sitting near it, more on the anterior side, is the brachialis in the cat. And sorry, my dog is whining. The last one of the upper arm is the brachioradialis. And this is a really nice one because the name comes from where it's inserting and where it originates from. So it originates from the distal end of the humerus. So it's lower down than the other muscles we looked at previously. And it inserts all the way down on the distal end of the radius, And so specifically on the styloid process of the radius. Remember, that was on the medial side here. And so you guys can kind of see how it wraps there. And so because it's originating from our upper arm and inserting on the lower arm, it is also going to cause flexion of the forearm as well. But it's this really long muscle compared to the brachialis. So it's called the brachioradialis, because it's inserting on the radius bone. So you guys can see as it contracts, it causes forearm flexion, just like we saw for the biceps and the brachialis. And here it is in the cats. It's not quite as developed. It's not as big of a muscle as the biceps brachii or even the brachialis. It's a pretty thin muscle that sits very superficially, especially compared to the biceps brachii. So for page 70, so you guys will finish coloring. So you can either pause now and color your diagrams at the bottom of page 75, or come back and do that later. But for the muscles of the lower arm, we do not make you know all of the OIAs because there are a lot of little muscles in here. And so you guys are going to be responsible for knowing the general locations of the 4 sets of muscles and the general functions, the general actions that they cause. So you guys don't have to write anything down. You just need to listen. And then you do need to color these 2 diagrams of the individual muscles. So like I said, you need to know the general locations and the general functions of the group. So the first group is called wrist flexors. In their name, that tells you what they do. They flex the wrist. So those are your first ones. So this is the flexor carpi ulnaris and the flexor carpi radialis. And so what they're doing, sorry if I can go here, is they're mostly, so most of the wrist flexor muscles are on the inside because wrist flexion is this motion. So it makes sense that the wrist flexor muscles are on the palm side of our arm so that when they contract, they can produce that wrist flexor motion. The next one are wrist extenders, which are on the back side of our hand, which makes sense because if we want this motion to take place, the muscles on this side need to contract. So wrist extensors. So like the extensor carpi radialis, the longest extensor carpi radialis brevis, and the extensor carpi unioralis. So bunch of names, but they're just talking about what they do and where they are. But like I said, know them as a group. So wrist extensors are on the back side of the hand, and then when they contract, they produce wrist extension. And the last 2 sets are the finger flexors and the finger extenders. So the flexors are here, and when they contract, they flex the fingers. And you guys can see the names. So like flexor digitorum profundus, flexor digitorum superficialis. So again, here on this side of our hand to cause flexion. And then the extenders extend. And they are back here on this side of our hand. So this would include muscles like the extensor insidius, extensor digitorum lateralis, extensor digitorum communis. So these muscles in your hand that allow you to, from making a fist, to extend those fingers back out. So if you need to, go back and rewatch any of these to help you out. So now what you should do is make sure that the diagrams on page 74 and 75 are colored. When you finish coloring those diagrams, upload pictures into the assignment on 17.1 on Schoology. And then you guys need to finish 17.3 arm dissection video and questions, which is in the week 17 day 2 folder. And then you also need to complete page 76, and that's the last page in your notebook for this week on the shoulders, back, and arms. And then once you guys finish 74, 75, 76, you're done with the pages for 17.1, so you can upload all of your pictures and get that turned in. So I just want to remind you guys about our due dates and office hours. So just remember, in-person office hours are on Friday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you can come in for help on any assignments or to view the CAT dissections or combination of both. Stay as long as you need to. And then just a reminder for your due dates for this week. So pages 71 through 76, pictures need to be submitted. Need to be submitted in 17.1 by Sunday at midnight. And then your choice activity for how you'd like to study, whether it's note cards, Quizlet, Kahoot, whatever it is, digital note cards, needs to be turned in by the start of day 1 next week. So that would be Monday, May 10th or Tuesday, May 11th. Remember, I'm available by email if you guys need anything at all. Have a good day.